my story goes way back to when I was young. I started out believing a lot of lies and believing a lot of things that weren't true about myself and about all those around me. I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional home, in an alcoholic home, and there was a lot of abuse and a lot of neglect. And through all of that, I came to believe some things about myself that led me on a course of action that led me to destruction. I started believing at a very young age that I didn't matter. I believed that my voice didn't matter. I believed that my heart didn't matter. I believed that I should only offer to this world what was asked of me and no more, because I grew up believing that I was only supposed to speak when spoken to. And so with that just came all of these agreements that I don't matter. And so I was a pretty angry kid. I was very angry. I wore anger like a badge. And not only was I angry, I was just deflated. I was a very small kid. I was tiny. I have a genetic condition that causes me to not be able to gain weight. And I was really sick when I was a kid, and I would have to go to the hospital, and they could never find out what was wrong with me because they didn't know about this genetic condition. And so not only did I grow up in a home of dysfunction and alcoholism, but it was also a military household, so I moved a lot. So I'd moved to a new school, and I was always this little kid. I was real small. And so guess who gets picked on? It's the small kid. And guess who girls didn't want to be friends with? It was me, because I was so small. And so a lot of people didn't like that. So I just got picked on a lot. And so that just kind of added to my anger, and it added to this feeling like I didn't matter. And I would go to a new school and I'd get picked on, and I'd get picked on because not only was I small, but my mom was from North Dakota and my dad was from Texas. So I would live in Texas and get the Texas accent, and then I'd move to North Dakota talking like a Texan, and I'd get made fun of because of how I talk. And so I would learn how to talk like somebody in North Dakota, and I'd move back to Texas and I'd get made fun of because of how I talked. And so I was real self-conscious of how I talked and how I looked and how I was presented and all of this stuff, because every time I'd go to a new school, I'm the new kid, all the eyes are on me, and it was scary. It was very scary. So I lived under fear a lot. This idea that I had to fit in, and I had to be a chameleon, and I had to put on the right face and the right voice, and I had to do all these things to fit in so that I didn't get made fun of, or I didn't get picked on. And so fast forward, as I got older, I was just really angry. I was really confused, and I started lashing out. I started learning at about 11 years old that if I hit first and I looked crazy, then people wouldn't mess with me so much. These kids wouldn't mess with me so much. And so that's kind of this role that I put on, that I would just attack first and ask questions later. And even though I was small, I had like this little man syndrome, like if I just acted big and crazy, that people wouldn't mess with me. And so that's kind of the agreement, the idea that I lived with was, well, I'll just show them. So I did, and it started this life of fighting and violence, a lot of violence. And so, a big part of my story is the addiction part of it, but what the addiction was more of a solution to what was really going on inside of me. So while I did become in bondage to this addiction, to the addiction to drugs and alcohol, I was also addicted to this idea of having this image. I was addicted to rage. I was addicted to anger. I was addicted to control. I was addicted to making sure everything around me was okay so that I could be okay. I was just in this place of turmoil, constant turmoil, and was almost kind of addicted to that. And so it was just this bondage of believing these lies that I didn't matter, I wasn't enough, I didn't measure up, I was too small, I was too skinny, my voice didn't matter. And so I lived that way. I lived in this constant place of striving to be better, of striving to do more, of just trying to be something other than what I was, because what I was never enough. And so that's when alcohol and drugs entered the picture, because they gave me this idea, they gave me this feeling that I was more than what I was. Because when alcohol entered the picture, I wasn't so worried about how I looked anymore, because when you're drinking, you look great. And it gave you courage. And so I was always afraid, because I lived under this umbrella of fear. And so give me a little alcohol and now I'm brave. And so it was a solution to all this darkness that was inside of me. And it worked really well for a long time until it didn't. It gave me courage. It gave me even more courage, and I just became more violent, and I became more controlling, and then drugs entered the picture, and it just took off into a whole nother realm. But there was even a bondage in that, and all of that of striving to be more than I was, and that's why I was able to be successful in my job, because if I could just prove to the world that I could do something well, then I'd be okay. And none of it worked. I just still kept going deeper and deeper and deeper into the darkness of the lies that I'm not enough, the lies that I don't matter, the lies that my voice doesn't matter, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to offer, I have nothing to give. And that's just the arrows that just kept coming at me, and I would believe them all. And by the time that I was 30, I was just so deep in all of the bondage, all of it, not just the addiction to the drugs and alcohol, but all of it, all of the lies that I didn't matter, all of the lies that I didn't measure up. And so I was just so alone. And so the inner man in me felt so alone. I had so many people around me that loved me and cared for me, and I couldn't feel their love. I had so many people that cared, and I felt so alone. I didn't feel like anybody could possibly understand me or my heart, or could possibly understand the darkness that I was in. So I just pushed everybody away. I pushed them, I kept them all at arm's length. I didn't let them in. And I just lived in that by myself for a really long time. And it was a really dark, miserable place to be in. And I didn't know a way out. I didn't know how to possibly come out of that, because I had gone so deep and had been in it for so long. I was so hopeless that I thought death was the only way to make it go away. I thought if I just died, it would make everything better, that I would be able to go to heaven and just be okay, because it didn't matter to anybody else anyway. It didn't matter if I was gone. It didn't matter if I was here, because again, I was believing the lie that I didn't matter. So I prayed, and I would ask God to please just take me out of this world. Just let me be done, because everything that I had tried to make myself better, to try to fill that darkness, didn't work. The alcohol didn't work. The drugs didn't work. They worked for a minute, but they stopped working. The control didn't work. The relationships that I tried to use to fix it didn't work. Nothing worked. So I did actually cry out to God, and I asked him to please just show me what my problem is, or just let me die, because I can't go on anymore like this. I can't keep doing what I'm doing. I can't keep living in this darkness and under this bondage. And he answered my prayers. Like, he came in such a mighty way and answered my prayers. Not only did he give me everything that I needed to overcome the addiction, to overcome what was binding me physically, but he also rescued my heart. He helped me to understand and see that I do matter, that those lies that I had been living under were exactly that. They were lies. And when you live with something for so long, it seems so true, because I had that lie my whole life, that I didn't matter. And And nobody ever actually said that to me, but the enemy did. He is in my ear saying, see, you don't matter. See, your voice doesn't matter. And just waiting for me to say, yeah, you're right. I don't matter. And I did. I agreed to that. And so God so graciously came into that wound and came into that agreement and came into that lie for me and started revealing truth to me that I do matter. Like, my life does make a difference. My voice does matter. And what I have to contribute to this world matters. And as long as I believe that lie that I don't matter, I'll continue living that way. I'll continue down that path, living as if I don't. And so to finally have this revelation of, oh my gosh, I can actually contribute to this world. I can offer more than anger. I can offer more than fights. I can offer more than partying and laughing and just trying to have a good time. I can actually offer my heart. I can offer what God has put in me. And by me being rescued and me being saved from this addiction, I can now help others in addiction. I can help them see their truths, because what I've learned in addiction is, like, addiction is just usually a Band-Aid. It's just something that helps relieve what's really going on, because it's always an internal condition. It's a spiritual malady. It's the spiritual part of being just restless and irritable and discontent and believing those lies. And what's the root of what's really going on in addiction can always be traced back to those lies, can always be traced back to those wounds and not knowing what to do with them. And so, having grown up in alcoholism and in dysfunction and all of that, I didn't know what to do with all the trauma that I had gone through. I didn't know what to do with all the hurts and the pains. I didn't know what to do with all the arrows that I had received. And so my solution was to drink, to drug, and to fight and do all that. But God's solution was to heal it. And I just didn't know how to let him do that. I didn't know how to let him in. I didn't know how to allow him into those places, those dark places, for him to shine his light in the darkness. And so it took people coming alongside me and helping me and showing me what they did and holding my hand through it all and bringing truth and shedding truth. And my part to play in that was believing it, like choosing to believe that it's possible, because for so long it wasn't. And so I started believing that maybe, just maybe, I'm not unworthy. Just maybe I do matter. Just maybe I have more to contribute than I ever thought. Maybe I can make a difference. And maybe if I start doing something else, maybe if I start pursuing God and putting my focus on him, that just maybe he can work through me. And that's exactly what happened. And it was nothing short of miraculous in how that change happened, and how I was able to go from just thinking in my mind and being logical and thinking from my mind and thinking from my heart, to thinking from my spirit man, and for God to be able to speak through to that area of my heart. And so today my life is much different. I've heard it said, like, we can't even imagine what God can do in our lives, and I echo that, because my life is unexplainable. Sometimes I just look at my life and I'm just blown away in what he does and what I get to do now, and I'm blown away with the miracles I get to watch day in and day out, and most of all, what I'm blown away with is this internal peace that I have. I have a peace that goes beyond all understanding, and I don't always have it. Sometimes I have anxiety, sometimes I have anger, and I'm still human, but for the most part, the peace wins. For the most part, when I turn my attention and my focus on God, peace is what rules my life, and it's what I'm addicted to today. I crave it. I can't live without it. I want peace more than anything. And the way that seems to work out for me is through work and self-sacrifice for other people. And so when I'm thinking about you, or I'm thinking about someone else and I'm helping them, I get out of the way, and it seems like God gets to come in and do for me what I can't do for myself. He seems to fix things in me and around me that I can't explain, and it's all through getting out of myself and working for somebody else or helping somebody else. And it is miraculous. It is so freeing. I'm not under the bondage or under the umbrella anymore of that I don't matter. I know I matter today. I know that I make a difference today, and I know who I am today. I'm a daughter of the King, and because I'm a daughter of the King, I get to walk like I'm a daughter of the King, and not out of arrogance or pride, but just out of identity of knowing who I am. And he gets to work through me. Like I have a direct connection with him, and it's exciting. Like I get so excited about it because he's in the business of miracles, and I'm one of them. I get to be one of them. And the thing is, every one of us gets to be one of them. And that's the exciting part, is to help other people see that they're a miracle too. And that is my hope, and that is my drive today.